Most people today don't know how people lived without money in the past. Some are asking what they were using to get what they need. Pay attention to this story and listen so you learn it today. Let's know how money came to Nigeria and why they needed money when lives were moving smoothly without money, long before the sound of paper notes and coins filled marketplaces, long before anyone spoke of naira or kobo. The people who lived in the lands now called Nigeria lived by a simple system: trust and exchange. In those days, a farmer who had yams would walk miles to meet a fisherman who had fresh fish. If both men agreed, they would trade yam for fish. This was called the barter system. But barter had a problem. What if the fisherman didn't need yams that day? What if the farmer wanted salt instead of fish? Trade became slow, frustrating, sometimes impossible. So gradually, people began to look for something better, something everyone would accept. Spiritual, the era of cowries and trade objects. Across kingdoms like Benin, Oyo, and Igbo lands, people started using cowrie shells as money. These small, white shells became valuable because they were easy to carry, hard to find locally, widely accepted. Soon, wealth was counted not in farms or goods, but in strings of cows, alongside cowries. Other items were also used: brass rods, beads, manillas, metal bracelets used as currency. Trade became easier. Markets grew bigger. Wealth became measurable, but still, there was no standard system across all regions. Ship the arrival of the British and a new system, everything began to change in the late 1800s and early 1900s, when the British took control of the region. In 1914, under the leadership of Lord Frederick Lugard, the northern and southern protectorates were joined together to form modern Nigeria. With this unification came a new goal: economic control. The British wanted a system that would make trade easier for them, allow them to collect taxes, connect Nigeria to global trade. So in 1912, even before full amalgamation, they created an organization called the Backhand Index Pointing Right West African Currency Board. This board introduced a new form of money into Nigeria: pounds, shillings, pence, d. This was the first official modern currency system used across the country. But here's the truth. This money wasn't created for Nigerians, it was created to serve the British colonial economy. Farmers now had to pay taxes in British currency. Traders had to sell goods to get coins. Slowly, the old systems of cowries and barter began to disappear. Bank, the birth of Nigeria's own money. As time passed, Nigerians began demanding independence, not just politically, but economically. A major step came in 1958, when the Backhand Index Pointing Right Central Bank of Nigeria was established. This was a turning point. For the first time, Nigeria would control its own money. Then on July 1, 1959, something historic happened. Nigeria issued its own currency, Backhand Index Pointing Right, the Nigerian pound. This moment marked the beginning of true financial identity. At that time, Nigeria was still under British rule, governed by Backhand Index Pointing Right Sir James Robertson. But independence was very close, and change was coming fast. Nigeria independence and the push for identity. On October 1, 1960, Nigeria gained independence. Years later, during the military government of Backhand Index Pointing Right Yakubu Gowon, leaders began to ask an important question: why are we still using a currency tied to British pounds? Nigeria needed a currency that truly reflected its identity. Dollar banknote, the birth of Naira.
We must ensure
One of
this
the key
investment
figures in this
benefits everyone
transformation
in our
was
community.
Backhand
I
Index
agree, but
Pointing
how
Right
do we
Obafemi
guarantee
Awolowo.
transparency and fair
He played
distribution
a
of the
major role in
returns?
shaping Nigeria's financial system and even suggested the name Backhand Index Pointing Right Naira, derived from the word Nigeria. Finally, on January 1, 1973, the country made a bold move. Nigeria abandoned the old pound system and introduced Naira, Nigerian Naira, Kobo. This was called decimalization, a simpler and more modern system. At that time, there was no president, Nigeria was under military rule, and Yakubu Gowon was the head of state, globe showing Europe Africa from barter to bills, and so, the journey was complete. From a farmer exchanging yams for fish, to strings of cowries, that British coins, that Nigerian pound, and finally, to the Naira we use today. Money in Nigeria was never invented in a single day. It evolved, slowly, through culture, trade, colonization, and independence.
Like, comment, and share. Follow for more. Thank you. May God bless you.